Hello, and welcome to COWLFans, your home for Casual Overwatch League news. Coming at you from the past, time traveling to you, so that you can hear what we have to say this morning in the afternoon. But the first things first, our homeboys, Florida Mayhem, they look like a brand new team!
Woo!
Super exciting.
We won a match!
We won a match convincingly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good.
We took a match to map 5 that looked good. We didn't look bad the entire time against either team.
It looked alright.
It was fantastic. And we'll get to those later. And we have another celebration. History was made this week as
the curse
Shanghai
is broken.
Broke the curse. 1-42.
What a 42!
Super exciting. They finally have a win. They can get that weight off their shoulders. Beautiful.
They've shown the world that you cannot beat the Shanghai Dragons 43
times
in a row.
Yes, sir.
They will put their foot down.
That's it.
And tell Blizzard to bench your main tank 10 minutes before the game.
That's true. That's true. Oh, man. Oh, man. Okay. All right. Okay, so, match of the week. Since we were already talking about Florida, I'm going to go ahead and throw my match of the week out here.
Let's do it.
My match of the week is Florida versus Philadelphia.
Ah.
It was so beautiful. We looked amazing.
As a Florida fan, we don't get to experience this very often. Usually the only thing you experience when you're watching a Florida game is despair and heartbreak. And you just stare at the screen and you're like, why do I keep doing this? But today it was an exciting match.
It really was.
It was competitive. We showed good looks.
Good teamwork.
Yeah.
Everything about it looked good. We identified their weak link, which, let's be honest with ourselves, Boombox wasn't there.
Yeah.
Elk was their weak link. No
Although,
surprise.
Elk didn't really seem too terrible until Route 66.
Elk wasn't bad per se. Elk is a good player. We all can see that Elk is a good player. But the fact of the matter is, he hasn't been playing with the team as long.
Right.
He doesn't know how to position around them like Boombox does because he doesn't practice with them.
Yeah.
And so Florida saw that, identified that, and said, we're going to dive him and shut Elk down. And Zenyatta is a huge source of damage. So shutting down the Zen or shutting down the Zarya...
And that means you're not building Trance, and Trance is one of the most important ultimates that you could possibly get.
So that means Philly didn't have a chance to stop Florida's big pushes because they didn't have Trances up as often. They didn't have the damage output. Everything was going against them for that because Florida saw their target.
But it's not even that. You could tell even outside of the last minute Elk sub-in for Boombox, they were still very prepared for what Philadelphia Fusion was going to be running against them. Like, they knew that they were going to be running a lot of Winston goats, so they tailor-made a lot of Reaper strats, and they used it specifically to punish the Winston trying to dive their team, to make it that much harder for him to dive into a goats comp. So there were a lot of cool looks that the Florida Mayhem took and threw, and probably, quite frankly, threw the Philadelphia Fusion off guard. So not only do you not have Boombox now you're seeing a Florida Mayhem you weren't expecting. Running comps, you're probably not scrimming too much against.
They made the right plays, especially on Anubis. Their defense on Anubis was tailor-made for point B.
Right.
They said, look, we know Anubis point A is really hard to defend. We're going to make our defense for point B, so that way we don't lose the ultimate advantage when we inevitably lose point A. And it worked.
Yep.
It was glorious. It was beautiful. And I loved it. And I want to see it again, Florida. Give it to us.
And, like, Florida looks good. I think Zephyr is looking really amazing. There were a lot of doubts about Zephyr. There were memes like this, Scrim God Zephyr always looks so good in scrims, never shows up in matches. He's showing up. He got huge picks on Temple of Anubis specifically. Like, the fight wasn't looking too good. He solo kills the Mercy that they're running in their triple DPS comp, so that's your only source of heals.
Buys a ton of time.
Done. Buys so much time.
It was great. It was really a great match.
And then Hagapun on point, Chris on point with their ults. Not many supports have done that. Just all around, good job. Mayhem.
Awesome.
Keep it up.
All right, now what's your match of the week today, Howler?
My match of the week was the last match of the week. The Vancouver Titans versus the San Francisco Shock. This whole week, if you follow my Twitter, I've been so upset at how bad support ults have been in every match. And although the games have been good, the games have been close, I feel like it's more been teams punishing mistakes of other teams rather than like the Overwatch League level of these are two really good teams and you're just going to see outplays and outmaneuvers.
Well, let's be honest with ourselves, though, because I was watching that match, and a lot of times the times when those fights turned around was when one team overextended. At the end of the day, I think anything when we get to this level of play, we're going to wind up just waiting for a small mistake. They overextended. They did some amazing pushes back to spawns that were really awesome.
Yes.
That are just really good. And they bought them tons of time and space to move, especially on Kings Row. Space to move payloads. Right? And then Vancouver would just stick out just a little further than they should, stick their neck out just a little more, and then there was San Francisco Shock with the axe on the chopping block. You know? And it just shut it down. And then Shock would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Shock would push out. They would have ultimate advantage. They'd push them back into their spawn against the Vancouver Titans. And then they would realize they would lose their ultimate advantage as they tried to keep them in there. And then they would just stay there. You know, like you could have backed up, really set yourself up for a much better defense, I think, and potentially done a lot better job holding them if you hadn't.
It gains you time, right? If you're in their spawn and you wipe, you just get to meet them halfway.
Sure.
So you could potentially gain time. It throws most teams off guard. Chokes coming out of spawn are small. It's just a little tiny door.
Yeah, and there's only two of them.
Yeah, and there's only two of them. So you could, if you're good, especially on Kings Row, that's a pretty good map to try to control those exits because you've got that one in that tight hallway. So you just set up on the stairs. You either go up and out and collapse on the team as they come out the one near the statue, or you just fall on them as they try to come out of the building. So it's a good map to do that. And I think you need to be aggressive. Like, you're going to overextend because you need to be making plays, especially against these teams of this caliber. Like, main tank play is going to define these sorts of games, especially when a game like that, where support ultimates were always so spot on. So I thought it was a really good game. Volskaya was a little weird, so I would definitely go back and watch that match. Particularly, you could probably just watch Kings Row. If you want to see the best Overwatch we've seen.
And it'll give you a good sense of what both of these teams were doing. Really, the whole game they were behaving like this. They were just doing a really great job. Just a little plug for Howler's Twitter, because I started following it. If you want something a little more in-depth than the casual general outlines we're going to give you here, follow his Twitter. That man is putting out thoughts and things and processes, and he's got a good brain on his shoulders. That's why he's our analyst here. That's why he's here to help us with that. And he does it way better than I can, which is why I don't post anything like that on my Twitter. So follow that man. It's worth it. You're going to learn stuff. And
things.
And things. That's correct. All right. I want to move on now to just a few quick points. I want to start with the fact that last week you said London put Profit on Zarya, and this week London moved Profit to Zarya, and it's a new team.
It's a totally different team.
Totally different team. I saw something this morning that said London. Somebody was mad at London. I think it was Monty, who said London is that annoying kid at school who doesn't turn any homework, aces the test when it matters, and then comes out with a B, because London looked terrible, and then London did the right thing, finally at the end here, and they're coming out okay.
Finally figured it out. And it seemed like it was a last-minute thing, because they started the first match, they were still playing Profit on Zarya, they were still playing...
They were playing Profit on Brig.
Brig and Birdring on Zarya, excuse me. And then it looked awful. Want to watch the worst match of Overwatch you've seen so far? Watch the first map of the London Spitfire versus the Washington Justice, where the Washington Justice just stands on a point, and London just does nothing.
It's true. Now, London came out on top barely, and they really should have done way better than that against the Justice.
Boy.
It was cause for concern.
Yeah.
It was cause for concern how badly they looked against the Justice. But they turned it around. Yeah. They came back, and their next game, which was, I don't remember who they played next. They played someone else.
They played the Houston. No, they did not play the Houston Outlaws.
No. Outlaws played NYXL.
Yes, I'm blanking on who London played.
I don't have last week's schedule down.
They played the Spark? Yes, they played the Spark.
Okay.
But
sure.
You could tell the difference between, okay, we're just going to throw Prophet in on Zarya because we need to change something. Oh, this is looking a little bit better. Practice it for 2 days, and now they look killer. It reminds me a lot of their playoff run. They were a little confuzzled their first game against the Gladiators. They practiced something new for 2 days. Steamroll the rest of the competition all the way to the title.
It was really a good
It felt
showing.
reminiscent of that to me.
Yeah, it was very good. It was very just nice, and I'm happy to see it.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see better Overwatch coming out of all the teams. And now let's talk about Chengdu. Because Chengdu, last week, showed a poor showing against Seoul Dynasty, but otherwise...
But it's a strong showing against the Charge.
A strong showing against the Charge. And then this week showed up, and they're playing competitively.
Yes.
Chengdu is not getting rolled over. Nobody was sure what to think about them. They have these weird strats. They have these weird compositions. They're playing. They're missing an entire tank right now. Jichirin, right?
Yes.
Jichirin's not here, so they're playing Ameng, and the man only plays, it feels like, Wrecking Ball. He throws out the other tanks sometimes, but the man is a wrecking ball. He's an actual wrecking ball too, because the game versus Florida, he literally bowled through the whole team and knocked him off a staircase. It was hilarious and then sad because we came back, we won that fight, we left him sitting. Oh, I'm so mad about that. So mad about that. We left Ameng sitting in a corner by himself, totally separated from his team with all of us live and didn't feel like we should go kill him. It's very frustrating. Anyways, that's not the point. That's not what I'm talking about. So they're looking very competitive.
Yes.
They're playing their own game, and it's still kind of working. They haven't gotten it to the point where they're constantly beating out the other game, right? Because there's really 2 games going on. There's everybody's meta game, and then there's Chengdu's game.
Right. And it's hard to prepare for because there's nobody's playing like this, and nobody could. Even if you were like, hey, would you guys, like Mayhem, you know, they scrim their academy team a lot. You could be like, hey, guys, we need you to, like, run these strats that Chengdu runs. Nobody has a wrecking ball like Ameng does. So how do you prepare for that? That's going to be the first time you experience it.
The only team that you could scrim against that might be able to pull off a strat like Chengdu is probably the Charge, the Spark, the one they played first. The Charge. Because they played Chengdu at Chengdu's game.
Yeah.
They were both doing these wacky strats. And
that's true.
Chengdu came out on top, though.
Yeah.
When people try to play Chengdu's game, Chengdu comes out on top. Florida tried to play Chengdu's game in the last time, and this is what I wanted to... This is where we're going next anyways. This is perfect. Right? So Florida's playing. We're back and forth. We're 2-2. Florida doesn't look great on control, right? And that is what it is. That is what it is. Yeah. And Chengdu's strat is almost tailor-made for control.
Yep.
Which is gives them an edge anyways. And we decide, let's bring in Saya player. Let's play Chengdu's game. And Howler thought Saya looked good. I didn't think Saya looked as good as he's looked in the past because I saw him standing outside the point with shots on a Lucio and a Moira, Lucio bouncing around, a Moira walking down on the bottom, and he just was looking at him, not taking any shots, and I was like, are you okay, Saya player? Like, I'm worried about Saya player a little bit because I know he can do better, and he got some amazing shots and did some amazing stuff. But that moment right there, if he could have just picked one of them, that probably would have turned that one map around.
Right.
Which I think was the drum on Busan.
Yeah.
And I'm just watching it going, the man can do this. Why isn't he shooting? So, anyways, but we tried to play Chengdu's game, and Chengdu rolled us. We didn't even take a map off of
and Chengdu didn't even play their game at us. We ran them with triple DPS. They're like, whatever, we're gonna run goats with a Hammond, whatever.
Yeah. You can't. I don't think any teams right now are gonna beat Chengdu at Chengdu's game.
No.
Spark tried to do it all the way through, came out close, but didn't happen. Florida tried to do it at the end, wasn't the way to win.
And so, after we get through with control, we're like, all right, we're going to stop playing Chengdu's game, and instead we're going to try to just beat them and punish their strats that they run. So we start running an Ana.
Because they're not running a D.Va. Were they running a D.Va?
Sometimes they were, sometimes they weren't. But regardless of whether they were running a D.Va a lot, we ran the Ana, and I think that was for sleep darts onto the Hammond.
That's true.
And then we were also running, on third point of King's Row, we ran a May.
Which actually looked good.
Which actually looked pretty okay. However, I feel like Mayhem got into their heads and outstratted themselves. Like, the May was cool. The Ana was cool. Like, I like that we're trying to counter what Chengdu's doing.
But they got kind of stuck on them.
They got stuck on them, and then Do you know how you could counter almost every comp in the game that isn't goats? You run goats. There's a reason everybody's running goats. It's because goats is so good. If you just run goats, you should be able to beat them. But like we would run goats with an Ana, and the Ana just didn't make sense. And so all of a sudden, you know, they're still running a Zarya sometimes. We're getting Gravitoned. We don't have Transcendence. We're all dying.
Honestly,
Run
I feel like
Zen, run goats.
I feel like Sombra Goats is the best counter to Chengdu right now.
Yeah.
You hack that Hammond, he can't roll up, he can't use his ultimate, and Ameng always has his ultimate. So hack him.
Yeah, and
he can't chain out of there.
And Mayhem looked great when they were running that. Like, Zephyr, Zarya looked so good. On point A of King's Row, I felt like the casters didn't talk about it once, which was so bizarre to me. But, like, there were fights where it was a 3v6 in favor of Chengdu, and then all of a sudden Zephyr takes out 4 people alone, practically, and saves the point. And he does it like twice in a row. He throws Gravitons in and all of a sudden wipes out 2 or 3 members. And I'm like, this dude is popping off, not mentioned once. Feel bad for the guy.
Well, it's unfortunate. The man is doing a good job. He's
impressing me. And we just got that McGravy signing. And I'm like, I feel like Zephyr might be our best player. So I'm a little like...
It's nerve-wracking.
I'm happy for McGravy. He's someone I've wanted to see in Overwatch League for a while. But...
maybe he's got some flex that Zephyr doesn't.
He has a good tracer.
He's got somewhere that he'll fit in.
Maybe he'll come in on control.
We'll see.
But I hope he doesn't just replace Zephyr. Zephyr, I'm a fan.
We are the COWLFans.
That's true. That was very nice. Very nice, sir.
Okay.
I don't know what that blowing was.
We're fans.
Oh my god. I take that
It's
back.
literally in our logo.
Nice. It's not nice.
It's literally in our logo. It's a big fan.
Anymore. Oh no.
We're big fans here, guys. We're big fans.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, we're small enough to fit in a hoodie, but go ahead and continue.
Well, a fan the size of my head, I feel like it's pretty large.
You do have a big head, that's for certain.
Okay. All right. Now, this is a bit that you wanted to do.
Yes.
You want to do some chunk on League Parity.
Yes.
First off, before you even get into that, because I had to ask you what this means, and I know lots of words. I know words like ephemeral.
Thank you, Final Fantasy
Thank
14.
you, Final Fantasy 14.
Shout out.
But but I did not know the word parity, so I want you to define parity for us before you start telling us what's going on.
Parity does not mean you're like a parrot. Parity means that it's a very competitive scene, basically.
It's Parity, not like parody, like a joke, like Steve Weird Al does parody songs.
Yes.
This is parity.
Parity. Yep. And this is... so it basically just means that the scene is very competitive, that anyone can beat anyone on any given day. There's no one clear top team. Well, there is one clear bottom team, but for the most part,
that's true.
There's like a lot of there's a lot of competition.
Okay.
It's very everyone's on a pretty equal and similar footing.
Right.
So that's what the concept of parity is.
Okay.
And so I've attempted to look at some teams who have played one another often to try to figure out who is actually the strongest team.
Oh gosh.
Okay? So I have prepared this graph to show all the connections between the teams and who might be the strongest. So let's start with the Atlanta Reign. They're looking fairly strong because they beat the Florida Mayhem. So I would say the Florida Mayhem is not the strongest team.
Oh, wait a minute. That was a whole different Florida Mayhem on week 1. That's not even fair. Boo.
They should have come out stronger. Sorry about your loss. But they also lost to Chengdu. So, bye Florida. All right?
Okay.
But
all right.
Florida Mayhem beat the Philadelphia Fusion. And you know who the Philadelphia Fusion beat? The Atlanta Reign. So we're going to go ahead and cross all these guys off. Now Chengdu's looking pretty good because they beat Florida. They're looking fine. They beat the Charge. But oh, what's this string?
4-0'd by the Seoul Dynasty.
Destroyed by the Seoul Dynasty, which, sorry, I gave that as one of my match of the days. Thought it was going to be really good. Seoul was ready. But yeah, they lost to Seoul. Charge had lost to
Fuel?
to Chengdu. No, and then Charge
beats the Fuel.
They 4-0 the Fuel.
Yeah.
Absolutely roll them. Not just running wacky comps like they did against Chengdu. They run goats, and their goats looked good. Shu looks crazy. That's besides the point. But they lose. So now we got 3 teams left. And, the Dynasty were looking pretty good. They beat Chengdu. The Dynasty also beat the LA Gladiators. But they lose to the Fuel. So they're gone. Leaving us just the San Francisco Shock, who lost to the Gladiators, even though they beat the Fuel. Everybody's beat each other. It's actually insane. There are 3 undefeated teams. And they are New York Excelsior, yes, Vancouver Titans, and Paris freaking Eternal. Yes.
Now, it's worth noting, there are 20 teams in the league.
Yes.
The most any team has played is 4 games at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So at best, you have played 20% of the teams.
Yes.
Nobody's even played all the teams in their division yet.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So there, right? Like that's kind of a big deal.
Yes.
There's a lot going on. Now, I think this is important. Mm-hmm. So he's talking about parity here, and I just want to take a look at our standings really quick while we're here on this moment.
Yeah.
Okay? Because our top 3 teams right now are the New York Excelsior, the Vancouver Titans, and the Paris Eternal. And the only reason they're the top teams right now is actually because they haven't lost.
Yes.
Right? Because even by map differential, Atlanta Reign and Seoul Dynasty, who have both played 3 games instead of 2, whereas the Eternal have only played 2, have 1 loss. But their map differential is larger than Paris Eternal's map differential, even with that loss.
Yep.
So that tells me that there's a lot of skew going on right now. Not everybody's played the same amount of games. It's going to take a minute for things to equalize.
Right.
And, we're going to always have to look at 2 sets of standings, the stage standings and the overall league standings.
Yes.
And probably here on the Cowl Show, we will only we'll look mostly at the overall league standings.
Mm-hmm. I think probably like week 5s,
week 5s,
we'll
start looking at stage standings just to talk about what's coming up. All right? But down here at the bottom are some teams that are confusing, right? So the Houston Outlaws, who have a win right now, but have 3 losses because they played 4 games, are ranked beneath the Washington Justice, who have 0 wins and 2 losses.
Yep, because they have more losses.
Okay? So there's standings are weird. And the LA Valiant, because they don't have a win, they've only played 3 games, are ranked underneath the Houston Outlaws. And the LA Valiant have had I feel like they've had a pretty rough schedule. We weren't really sure what to think about the Defiant. The Defiant are looking good. The Defiant are just looking solid.
I mean, the Defiant look good. They still have a lot of questionable ult usage. I don't know if Ivy grabs at good times.
A lot of people are having these questionable ult usages. You spend your entire time tweeting about how frustrated you are with support ultimates.
But Toronto, this isn't even support ultimates. I think Toronto might have the worst graviton uses out of any team.
Sure.
Which is your most important ult, but then they somehow still manage to clutch out.
So they're probably doing a better job on support ults, even though they're tanking
their individual mechanics are very good, and that's how they're winning games. Their teamwork and coordination, especially in ult economy, is questionable.
Well, shouldn't that be especially impressive in a GOATS meta where teamwork is so important?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely impressive. I mean, Ivy, he had I think it was him or Kareev, they both scored the highest DPS in a map in Overwatch League history before it was overtaken 2 matches later by the San Francisco Shock and the Vancouver Titans.
On Zaryas. Not even on DPS heroes. We're doing these on Zaryas.
But, yeah, I mean, you right-click into a Graviton at full charge 20 times a match, your damage is going to go up.
Right. So there's lots of standings right now that just probably aren't going to last, right?
I think another good way to show how much parity there is in the league and how close everything is, if you look at the Florida Mayhem, Chengdu and Florida were tied going into their match. After Chengdu won and Florida lost, where's Chengdu on the rankings?
Okay,
Like
let me find it.
6th?
Chengdu is ranked 7.
Ranked 7.
Florida,
Where's Florida
is ranked 16.
That's one game. The difference between Chengdu winning and Florida losing. They were tied before that.
Yeah, now they are 9 spaces away from each other.
It's
huge.
This is anyone's ball game right now.
Yep, for sure. Okay, let me get back to my notes then. Get away from my standings. All right, we got games to look forward to here. What games are you looking forward to next week, okay? So the league is pretty even.
Right.
All of our best guesses are really guesses.
Mm-hmm.
So our best guesses for exciting games coming up.
Right. So I know we've got the Atlanta Reign versus the Paris Eternal.
That's true.
I think that'll be a very interesting match. I think out of everyone, like Paris is showing that they're a very good GOATS team. I think Atlanta is going to be the first good team that they face who is willing to run unconventional strats. So I think that's really going to be
true.
Paris's time to prove, okay, you're a good GOATS team. How do you do against solid? How do you do when like someone throws a curveball at you? Can you react to that?
Is Paris playing Chengdu this stage? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, I am not sure.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can find that while you keep talking.
Okay, but I think that'll be a very good match for you to look out for.
I cannot find it. I'm getting jacked. Okay, so Atlanta Reign, Paris Eternal. That's gonna be. Yeah, I think I agree with you. Defran probably is gonna pull out a Torbjorn somewhere just to see what Paris does. I think they're gonna do it literally to see what Paris does to it.
Right.
Right, and they can do it successfully.
I mean, it seems to be their strat for well on Ilios. It
Right.
just seems to be what they've prepared.
They can do it successfully.
Yeah.
They have no issues with it, and other teams don't really know how to play against it because who the heck runs a Torbjorn? Defran.
Just
One guy.
just
One
Defran.
guy in the whole 20
At
Overwatch
least in
League
the
teams
Overwatch League, yeah.
with 10 players plus each, because they all had to have 8, 10?
Eight
player
was
minimum.
the minimum.
But
yeah.
at least 8, so average around 10. Between 200 Overwatch League players, one of them is playing a Torbjorn.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's if you don't practice against the Atlanta Reign, you're not going to know how to deal with it. It's the only way to do it. So I think it's going to be good. I'm interested. I'm going to low key wait and hope that Paris plays Chengdu this stage. I couldn't check the schedule right now, just to see. But I think you're right. Seeing a hard GOATS team play somebody who's not stuck on GOATS is going to be super.
But also has a strong GOATS that
Yeah.
they can fall back to. So I think
true.
it could be a really interesting match
It's true.
to watch out for.
Now, what about the Dragons? Is there a Dragons game we're interested in? Because Dragons aren't winless anymore. They look like they're actually a pretty solid team. And I have a feeling there's going to be a lot less tilt and a lot more momentum just because of this one win.
I think people are really underestimating the Dragons. You're looking at their 0-40. You're looking at their week 1. And you're just expecting, okay, this team probably still isn't going to be very good. This is the same old Dragons, but it's not the same old Dragon. This
They're
roster
wielding the
is
great
nutty.
Claymore sword of Gamsu
Yes.
and slicing through their enemies. If you saw the little spark graphic, I think it was a spark graphic. No, the Dragons made that graphic, didn't they? These graphics have been crazy. Go look at the Overwatch League team's graphics.
Particularly the Chinese teams.
Particularly the Chinese team. Sparks have been amazing. They look like stinking anime posters. They're super cool. And then Shanghai's, after they finally won, had this. It's beautiful artwork, and it's just pure hype. Go look at them.
Chengdu has like the pandas. There's a really cute, and then there was a really good one for against the Titans. The San Francisco Shock did the Attack on Titan one, and then like there's a Dragon Blade around Eren, who's actually Architect, and they turned the Colossal Titan into like the actual Vancouver Titan with fur and stuff. It's really well made.
It's very cool. These guys are doing a great job hyping up the Overwatch League.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. I'm excited. I mean,
I feel like the Spark have like issued a challenge, and now all the other teams are trying to rise to the occasion.
And then there's Linkster's little artwork.
Fun.
Did you see Linkster's little artwork?
Yeah, the little stick.
It's the two little stick figures. Oh man, it's great. It's great. If you don't even want to watch Overwatch, it's still worth it to follow these teams and watch them put artwork out. And Trash Talk is coming out, and it's just lots of fun. And so it'll be exciting to see what the Dragons do this week. see how they actually are now.
I think they're going to be. Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely going to be a competitive team, and someone you should be keeping an eye out for, because I think that this is a team that definitely has playoff potential. Their DPS is nutty. Their support line, I think, is one of the best, and as Gamsu and Kaguri build synergy, it's going to be a scary team.
Yeah. All right. So to round off the show, as we approach the end here, let's talk about Florida's upcoming week.
Yes.
All right, because we're Tampa boys, we're Florida boys.
Mm-hmm.
These are our guys.
Nobody else talks about Florida. Maybe this week they will,
Maybe
but up until this point, nobody talked about Florida.
So we're gonna do it here.
So it's left up to us.
Not only are we casual fans, but we are homegrown fans.
Mm-hmm. We're
and
loyal.
We're gonna support our guys. All right, this is our team. All right, so they got 2 matches coming up this week. They've got the Guangzhou Charge and the Houston Outlaws.
Yes.
Now, I'm already prepared for Howler to disagree with me here. Charge took out Dallas, which I think went to map 5.
Convincingly. No, that was a 4-0.
Was that a 4-0?
That was a 4-0.
Okay, Charge rolled over Dallas, lost 2-3 to Chengdu, to weird Chinese Team C, and Seoul. All right? Now, we had the similar showing against Chengdu that the Charge did. We didn't play their game the whole way into them like the Charge did. I think that's a worthwhile mention. Mm-hmm. But I think the fact that we competed against them like that was a good sign that we're going to be reasonably even. And I think that because the Charge, they run unconventional strats, but they don't run them like Chengdu did. You know? Mm-hmm. You follow? I think they're going to be a little easier for us to prepare for. I think they're on a similar level to us, and our catered strats have really been working so far. So I want to give us the edge against the Charge.
Now, here's the reason I have Florida likely losing to the Charge. And I'm going to set a win condition, too. Because if they could do this, I think they could win. With this in mind, I feel like it's a tough road for the Florida Mayhem. Charge look the best on control.
Sure.
Mayhem look the worst on control. I think if you run goats, Charge look really good dismantling goats with their DPS. Their DPS players are absolutely nutty when they put them in. Hotba is a very good tracer. No off tank really has as good of a DPS flex.
That's true. And if you didn't know that, Hotba's tracer last year won several games
mm-hmm.
in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So his tracer's a big deal.
His tracer's really good. And then Eileen's been really good as far as, ever since the very first Overwatch World Cup. Eileen has been a standout player.
So I'm guessing your win condition is we have to take that
we have to take, well, not even, if we win a control map, yes, Florida's going to look huge. No, I think Florida should expect to not win control. They can't go to a map 5. You cannot go to a map 5 against the Charge. You need to win the next 3 maps, and the problem is their goats actually looks really good. I think they have so much talent on their team. Happy is insane. Rio, I think, is a very good main tank, which could cause problems for Swan. He's the one person who still hasn't impressed me. He looks better, but I'm still not impressed by Swan's play.
That's true. He's probably the least standout player on our team right now.
Yep. Except maybe Tavik, but do you really ever notice Briggs in any team?
You really don't notice Briggs. Tavik pulled out the May, though. Tavik was our main player, and he looked good.
His May looked pretty good,
I mean, when Tavik gets to flex off the Brig, I feel like he looks good. Mm-hmm. We did a Tavik on a Pharah at one point, I think. I feel like his Pharah looked good.
Yeah.
Tavik is looking solid.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't sure if
and
Tavik
he
was
hasn't looked like
player.
He's throwing. As long as a Brig doesn't look like they're obviously being caught out a lot, that could be very questionable. He seems to have good positioning. It seems like he's doing
you hit them with your flail, you heal people. It's easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're not going to show up on the charts by swinging your flail and getting your Inspire time.
Hopefully Swan will really rise to the occasion, but I can see in that matchup, I think main tank, especially in goats, Ryan v Ryan is really important. And I feel like Rio has the edge there. Shu looks absolutely insane on Zen. Hago's looked very good too. I've told you I think Hago's racking up transcendences like pulse bombs. He's been blowing me away so far, but I feel like Shu might be like the second best flex support.
I just want to back up to the main tank thing that you said a few seconds ago because something hit me that I've been thinking about that I said to my wife when we were watching the Vancouver game.
Okay.
These Rhines we're getting graviton surges.
Right.
We're throwing them out, and half the time our Rhine and other Rhines sit in front of it with their shield up. Now I know why. I understand the concept. They can still shoot at you from the graviton. You want your people to be able to put damage, and Zarya's often, when we graviton, try to do it with high charge so they can put out the damage.
Mm-hmm.
But if you watch the Vancouver game, Bumper, every time there's a graviton surge, swings his hammer through them 3 times, gets 70% boost on his ult.
Yep.
He was getting ults like crazy. All right? I think if we can get Swan to just have that kind of smart aggression, because Bumper knew when he needed to put a shield up, he would swing until the Diva Bomb was going to go off.
Yeah.
And he put a shield up.
Yep.
If we can get Swan to just swing his stinking hammer, just swing your dang hammer, boy. It's not hard. You left click. It goes. Okay? We can wind up with so many more shatters and opportunities for success from Swan. Swan could look like a standout player without being a standout player if he just swings once or twice into every graviton.
I think it's just Mayhem's problem right now in general. I think we're very good. Like, I've been one of the few teams who's impressed me with our support ultimate usage. Like, I think there's a high ceiling for what we're doing right now. We seem to be very coordinated, and we're doing all the right things. We just don't have that aggression to win fights. Like, we don't seem decisive when we do our maneuvers. Like, everything should be lining up that we're rolling over a team, but we'll just kill 2 people and then it'll take us 30 seconds to clear off the last 4 when that should have been done in like 5 seconds. We're lacking that extra edge, and I think that's Swan's play more than anything, not leading that charge.
I think we need to hurry up to our wrap up.
Okay.
We're going to run out of time. So, we have the Outlaws. Just want to touch on this real quick. I kind of had Outlaws in Florida basically neck and neck for this. They might be, but I think that with the Outlaws lost to NYXL the other day, which was yesterday,
right.
The frustration you saw out of Jake, I think that team is probably way more tilted than they want to admit right now. We may have the edge over them because of that, even if we were evenly matched, which we may not have been.
But in a week, tilt can turn into determination. So it's hard to say where they're going to be. I think Florida Mayhem should have the edge in that match. The only win that Houston has right now is over the Spark, and I think Spark are a bit overrated. I think their wins were over weak teams. And they lost this week to London and Houston, which I think both don't look hot against any other team. They've only individually looked good against the Spark so far. So I think Houston is still lacking, and I think Florida, if we just play a little bit more decisive, that should be a pretty easy win.
Yeah. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys.
We're still working through everything. Episode 1. Episode 1.
We're episode 1. This one's
we got
all
microphones
recorded
this week. It's gonna sound better. All right. We really appreciate everybody tuning in. Hey, feel free to drop us likes, subscriptions, whatever you're supposed to do. Follows, Twitter. You're the Twitter guy.
Follow this guy at Alluramore.
At Howler. And
that's HOWLEIR.
It's on the screen.
Oh, right. I forget.
It's on the screen.
Right. I can't see that.
The whole show.
Right.
The whole show. Tune in next week. It's gonna be good stuff coming out of here. I'm excited to keep this going. Please feel free to give us some comments. Constructive criticism always appreciated. We want this to be the best possible show. It's for you guys.
Yeah.
It's for our Florida friends. You know, can we call you guys friends? We're gonna call you friends anyways.
And for our non-Florida friends as well.
That's true.
There's always going to be a bit of a focus on Florida just because that's the matches we care about most. We're casual fans. I've been luckily had the opportunity to watch a lot of matches. I'm not sure how long that'll keep up.
This man is not as casual a fan as he claims to be.
Right. I'm definitely a bit more hardcore.
Yeah. But I'm a dirty casual, and we're going to take care of our casual people, our brethren. We're gonna do this, all right? So thanks for tuning in, and we are excited to see you next Monday. Peace.
Bye.